One piece of paper controls the entire world. It buys oil in Saudi Arabia. It buys rice in Vietnam. It buys weapons, food, and dreams. This is the US dollar. But how did one currency conquer the planet? The story begins in 1776. America was a brand new nation. It had no gold. It had no silver. It had almost no money at all. To pay soldiers fighting the British, Congress printed paper notes. They called it Continental Currency. But too many notes were printed. The money became worthless overnight. People said a phrase that became famous, quote, "not worth a continental." America's very first currency had already failed. In 1792, the young government tried again. Congress passed the Coinage Act. It created the US dollar, backed by real silver and gold. For over 100 years, the dollar stayed small. It was just one currency among many. Britain's pound ruled the world. London, not New York, was the center of global money. Then came 1914. World War I shattered Europe. Factories became battlefields. Economies collapsed into ruins. But America's factories were untouched. The world needed weapons, food, and loans. They turned to the United States. Gold began flowing into American vaults by the ton. By the 1920s, the United States held more gold than any nation in history. Quietly, power was shifting across. In 1944, World War II was ending. 44 nations met in a small town called Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They needed a new global money system. The dollar was chosen as the anchor. Every other currency would be tied to the dollar, and the dollar itself was tied to something ancient. $35 for 1 ounce of gold. The world's money now rested on America's promise. For 25 years, this system worked. The dollar became the currency of trade, of trust, of global power. But countries began asking for their gold back. America's gold reserves started shrinking fast. The promise was cracking. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon made a shocking announcement. The United States would no longer exchange dollars for gold. The gold backing was gone forever. The world was stunned. For the first time in history, the dollar was backed by nothing but trust. No gold, no silver, just paper and belief. Many experts predicted collapse, but something unexpected happened instead. America made a secret deal that changed everything. In 1974, the U.S. struck an agreement with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be sold only in U.S. dollars. Every nation on earth needed oil, and now every nation needed dollars first to buy it. A new empire had quietly begun.
This new system had a name. Experts called it the petrodollar. Oil and the dollar were now permanently linked together. Saudi Arabia agreed to something else too. Billions of oil profits would be invested back into American banks and U.S. government debt. Other oil-producing nations followed Saudi Arabia's lead. Soon, almost all oil on Earth was priced only in dollars. Think about what this meant. A country in Japan buying oil from Kuwait first needed U.S. dollars. A country in Germany buying oil from Iraq first needed U.S. dollars. Nations everywhere began stockpiling dollars just to keep their economies running. Demand for the dollar exploded across the globe. This gave America an incredible advantage. The U.S. could print more dollars, and the world would still absorb them. Economists later gave this power a nickname. They called it America's exorbitant privilege. No other nation on Earth had this kind of power. By the 1980s, the dollar was not just America's money. It had become the world's money. Central banks in nearly every country started holding U.S. dollars as their most trusted reserve asset. Today, over half of all global trade is still conducted in U.S. dollars, even between countries that are not America at all.
But power like this always comes with a price. Every dollar in circulation is really a piece of American debt. When the U.S. government spends money, it often borrows by selling bonds. Countries around the world buy these bonds gladly. China alone holds hundreds of billions of dollars in American debt. So does Japan. So does the United Kingdom. This creates a strange kind of bond between rivals. The world's biggest economies are financially tied to America's success, but this system also gives America a dangerous weapon: the power to freeze another country out of the global financial system. Nations that anger Washington can be cut off from dollar transactions entirely. This is called financial sanctions, and it can cripple economies overnight. Russia felt this power directly in 2022. Major sanctions blocked Russian banks from the global dollar system. Suddenly, countries like Russia and China began asking a dangerous question: what if the world stopped depending on the dollar completely? They started trading oil and goods using their own currencies instead. Small cracks began appearing in the dollar's total control. Some economists now whisper the same question in private: could the age of the almighty dollar someday come to an end?
To answer that question, we need to understand something surprising. The dollar's power was never really about gold and all. It was about trust. Trust in American courts, trust in American law, trust that contracts would be honored no matter what. When a business anywhere in the world signs a deal in dollars, they trust the American legal system to protect that deal. No other country offers this same combination of military strength, legal stability, and economic size all at once. The United States also has the deepest, most liquid financial markets on the planet. Money can move in and out instantly, any hour of any day. Compare this to China's currency, the yuan. China still controls and limits how freely its money can move across borders. Investors want a currency they can trust completely and move freely without government interference blocking them. This is why even today, in moments of global crisis, investors still rush toward the US dollar for safety. Wars, pandemics, and financial crashes all trigger the exact same reaction: buy dollars, trust dollars, hold dollars. This strange pattern has a nickname among economists. They call it the dollar smile, and it has never truly failed. But history teaches us something important. No empire lasts forever, and no currency stays powerful without challenge. In the 1700s, the Spanish dollar dominated global trade. Then it faded into history books. In the 1800s, the British pound ruled every major port on Earth. Then 2 world wars destroyed that empire's strength. Now, some wonder if the American dollar is standing at a similar turning point in history. New challengers are rising fast. China's economy has grown into the second largest on the entire planet. In 2023, a group of nations called BRICS began openly discussing a new shared currency. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa wanted a way to trade without needing American dollars at all. Digital currencies also emerged as a new threat. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies promised money outside government control. Even China launched its own digital yuan, hoping to challenge the dollar's grip on global technology. Yet, despite every threat, every challenge, every prediction of collapse, the dollar has remained standing at the top.
So, why has the dollar survived every single challenge thrown against it, decade after decade? Part of the answer is simple economics. Nearly $90 trillion in global debt is priced in US dollars. If the dollar suddenly collapsed, that debt would become impossible to pay back for countless nations around the world. In a strange way, the entire world is now financially trapped inside the dollar system together. Even America's biggest rivals still need dollars to trade, to borrow, and to survive economically. This is the quiet secret behind the dollar's endless power. Its collapse would hurt everyone, not just America alone. But cracks are still forming slowly beneath the surface of this powerful system. U.S. government debt keeps rising every single year, now passing $34 trillion in total. Some economists warn that trust, once broken completely, can never be fully repaired again. The dollar's story is far from finished. Its next chapter is being written right now, in real time.
Think back to where this story began. A broke young nation printing worthless paper money in 1776.
From that failure rose a currency that would one day touch every corner of planet Earth. Through wars, through crashes, through broken promises and shattered gold standards, the dollar always found a way to survive. It survived not because of gold and not because of luck, but because of trust built over centuries. Today, that dollar sits in vaults, in phones, in markets, and in the pockets of billions of people worldwide. It remains the most powerful financial tool ever created by a single nation in human history. But history has taught us one final lesson, again and again, without exception. Every empire that ever believed itself untouchable eventually discovered it was not. Whether the dollar's reign lasts another 50 years or fades like empires before it remains completely unknown. The story of the world's most powerful currency is still being written today.